It's Valentine's Day, a day for all things that you love. And for us, that is education and also alcohol. On today's show, we're joined by Dr. Kevin Berkopes, Crossroads Education founder and CEO, who recently made IBJ's 40 Under 40 list. I told you I would tout that.
You did. Thank you.
He's here to tell us about all the innovation he is spearheading. After that, we will also be joined, then we drink. And we'll be joined by Katie over at Hotel Tango Artist and Distillery. She's here to tell us about the booming growth they're seeing at Hotel Tango. All that and more coming up on The Edge.
Your audio and video source featuring Indianapolis tech trends, marketing industry champions, and business innovation. This is Edge of Indy. Broadcasting from Edge Media Studios. Let's get today's conversation started.
Hi, I am Brittany Simpson, Outreach and Onboarding Manager here at Site Strategics. Welcome back to Edge of Indy. This is a weekly podcast that we do to kind of shine a light on all things happening and exciting and fun in Indianapolis. We focus on local entrepreneurs and innovators, movers and shakers, things that I like, especially when Aaron's not here. So it's just me today, and it's going to be a great time, so be sure to stick around. Our first guest is very fancy, I would say, first and foremost.
You told me you were going to use it. Start it right off.
His name is Kevin Berkopes. He is the founder and CEO of Crossroads Education over at IUPUI. So, Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
You're looking quite fancy today.
I am excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Well, welcome to the show. I know Aaron is so bummed that he's not here. He's fine. He's having some chest pain, so I sent him away. But he was excited to have you here, so I'm sure he's either watching or listening and wants me to do a really good job with you. So
yeah, he was great. He came out and visited about a month or two ago.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that too for sure.
Nice.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about Crossroads Education and what you're doing over at IUPUI in a broad sense, and then I'm going to just mass fire a lot of questions.
I like mass fire. So
okay.
What is Crossroads? What we're trying to do is shift a way of thinking about talent and education. So the typical approach is we have a one-to-many lecture, right? You stand up front, and there's this sage on a stage that sort of shares the gospel. That doesn't work for anyone. I think we all know that. And what we're trying to do at Crossroads and what we've built at IUPUI and now with other partners in town is something different, something where it's collaborative, it's a co-working space for students, but it's peer-driven. And that's the real power, is we connect with our peers in ways that we just don't connect with others. And I think that's the best teacher for folks. So what we do is we provide an atmosphere where peers can connect, and then we teach them how to be good teachers at scale.
Wow. And you teach math, right?
There's that math thing, yes.
Okay, we'll touch more on that too. You're doing quite a bit of work through Crossroads Education. You're touching 3 different avenues of life. So I want to talk about higher education and the K through 12 sector first, and the work you're doing with IU and Ivy Tech and IPS. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we have 3 sectors that we're focused on. The higher ed and the K-12 are nuanced from each other only because you're dealing with a different type of workforce. So when I say workforce, I'm talking about students. At IUPUI, we have 135 peer tutors that work in these 2 facilities that we've created over the last 6 years. And they're called Learning Commons. And anything from basic algebra to 3-dimensional calculus, linear algebra, things that are only engineers or math undergraduates would take. We service all of that because it's not about remediation. It's about collaboration. It's about authentic learning and the environments that you can do. And it substructures all the important work that they do in the lecture with their professor. So it's built underneath. At the K-12 level, it's a little bit nuanced, but imagine having a high school where you get paid to go to school. So you're a tutor. Crispus Attucks High School is the first one in town that we built this into, and they have students that are getting paid to be there and work with their fellow students, and they can make a good amount of money during the week by
That's
being
incredible.
at school. So the idea is you can quadruple the number of math teachers in the school if you pay students to work, and they're brilliant. We have 16 through 18-year-olds that are knocking it out of the park, and we want to spread that throughout the city and throughout the state.
Gosh, and think about all the other skill sets they're developing.
It's all the intangible things that Governor Holcomb talks about with workforce development, right? It's why don't we start this early? Why don't we think of our students as a workforce that can benefit each other? 15 high school kids costs very little to do this work. but the amount of power and energy that they bring to it, they're the best asset that school has. And I think reallocating that is a new way of approaching this antiquated system.
Okay, moving forward, if I refer to IUPUI, I'm going to call it IUPUI because I attended classes there and I understand it's IUPUI. So can you tell us about the dev shop model that's happening over at IUPUI, please?
Yeah, so the dev shop's something different. It's actually created outside of IUPUI, but we're working on some partnerships that are really starting to fall into place. The idea of a dev shop is that we believe in blurring the lines between working and school. So if you want to learn something like almost anything. Software development is what we focus on. If you want to learn software development, you should learn on projects. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be necessarily taking a list of classes on how to do something with never getting your hands on the projects. And our colleagues in the CS department definitely have projects built inside of their classes. But what we're really wanting to do is let's blur the lines. Let's give people a job. Let's mentor them and move them through a tiered system of support. And then that's how you can really gain skill sets. Years of skill sets can be acquired very quickly because you're building.
Yeah, hands-on, yeah.
And it's a human way of learning. We think we can do it as a for-profit venture where you can actually make money doing this. And by the nature of actually who we hire, we can diversify pipelines that traditional systems just can't. When you graduate underrepresented minorities at a rate of 6% in some of our STEM fields at the university level, you're not moving the needle on diversification quick enough. And I know our universities are really trying to move that needle, but we think this approach, we can hire 15 African-American women and put them through this program with us collaboratively, and they'll never pay tuition. They have a job from day one, and they're building the exact skill sets that we know industry wants.
Gosh, you are so fancy.
There it is. There's two. Are you right?
I want to unpack the idea of peer-driven teaching because it's something that I know is really the mind behind all of this. Where did your passion for how did you even know that was going to be an avenue you wanted to explore, and why do you think it's so important? Why is it effective?
It's logistics and practicality. So I needed to combine some things to move a big old system. And the way to do that is through a real logical practicality. So you have to have a low cost. It has to be a workforce that's there and that's vibrant. And so what we came down to was the idea that peers, we learn the most from our peers. We learn all of our bad habits from our peers. That's why our parents lament about these things. We learn it from our older siblings. That's what we're building into schools is we know that your peers, your friends, that's who you learn from the best. And so all we're going to do is empower them and pay them to basically supply a second tier of second access to content. So it's a powerful workforce that I could $100 a week as a high school kid's a lot. To you and me, that's not much. I
would take it though.
You take it. Same.
I mean, let's not be silly. I would take it if it was handed to me.
So that was the real drive. Is we also know tutoring works, right? We know. We have a huge $6 to $8 billion market that's second access for tutoring that happens outside of school. I mean, you watch libraries and things, and it's full of people that are charging $30 to $80 an hour, and I find that inequitable. The kids that can afford it are the ones that probably don't need it anyways. The ones that can't afford it, they don't get it, and now they're falling farther and farther behind. So equitable access means bring that back into the school and empower these kids by paying them and training them as professionals.
Money is the best motivator.
It works, right?
I haven't found anything better than that quite yet. I mean, maybe, but...
it works. That's why we have money.
Chocolate and alcohol are also motivators for me, but...
Yeah, I got to stick around when this alcohol thing happens.
We will keep you here for sure. I mentioned it at the top of the show. You were recently named on IBJ's 40 Under 40 list, which is awesome. And again, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Very, very fancy.
Very cool, yeah.
That must mean a lot as an educator and as an innovator here in the city. So if you want to touch on why you feel so special and fancy, please do.
It's a great honor, right? So I've been working in Indianapolis for 6 years now at IUPUI after I finished my my PhD in West Lafayette, and I've got such a fantastic network of friends that are all high-performing people. And the thing I think really I like about this city is that there's a network of movers and shakers, but they're all good people. Mm-hmm. And you can get that meeting or there's an ask that can come about, and they really mentor and foster the next generation of movers and shakers that will take the city forward.
There's an approachability there.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's something that you can grab a hold of. And I think with this award and other things, I think I'm transitioning my seat at the table to where I can start to offer this now to up-and-comers as well. And I'm doing that work at IUPUI with all the undergraduates and graduates that I work with. But doing it for a city is something different. And I think that's what we can do with Crossroads. And this award it shines a light on a lot of people's hard work. And I know my smiling face is the one that gets it, but it's really about everybody else at Crossroads Education.
The smaller
for sure.
people. It's
The smaller, yeah.
he really does
The
it
most
for
important
all the small
ones.
people. No, and I want to say, too, based on what you just said, literally every guest we've had on the show who is a mover and shaker and an innovator in the city, everyone is so willing to reach out and connect with them. And if you have questions or if you want information or knowledge or you want to know how they went about their journey, everyone's really willing to share how they've done what they've done. Nobody's hogging all the knowledge or hogging all the insight. It really is a city built on this spirit of let's make it better together.
It's real.
It's a real.
This is not something that people are making up. This is real, and I love it about this city. I love where we're at, but I think I love more the vision of where we're headed. And a lot of people are talking about some of the neat things that are happening in town, but I really do think that we have something special here, even though it's an Indiana winter occasionally, which is not so fancy.
Not this week.
No. This week is, mid-fall.
It is. Ride the wave this week, friends. You just touched on this, but how now is the perfect time for innovation in education, especially in Indiana. Kind of unpack for me why you think it's such a good time for this kind of innovation in this space. Why is Indiana ready for this?
I think it's on everybody's lips. So we know that the return on investment for that 4-year degree or the way we've been doing workforce development, there's things that are shifting. And I think the technology has driven us to a point where we start to question some of these old entrenched traditions and some of the branding we've been doing for years, right? It's get that high school diploma, now get your 4-year degree, and then I think we can do better. I think we've displaced a lot of people by that, and I think it was unintentional. But a system that has unintentional consequences still needs changed. Mm-hmm. So I think we have a leadership in both the Chamber of Commerce for Indianapolis, for Indiana. I think we have a governor that is really pushing some neat agendas. I think there's some powerful, deep-pocketed companies that want to see Indiana's pipeline of talent thrive. These are all things that are really coming together.
Sure.
Having Salesforce and Infosys and some other really big players in town, it's really going to help push this dialogue of we need talent. Talent can't just be something that we get a 4-year degree for. There has to be other ways of supplying talent. Also, there has to be another way of taking folks that maybe think they're traditionally outside of a particular discipline, like mathematics, and show them a different way. I think a lot of liberal arts majors could really thrive in the tech industry. I think we can provide that talent pipeline where you just have to sort of be shown that, what you thought STEM was or what you thought technology was really isn't that. It's how it was taught to you, and unfortunately sometimes it's taught in ways that are not helpful.
You mean like my 6th grade math teacher that we talked about before the segment?
Yeah, that's. I think I could probably go down the list. And do you guys got a math teacher you could pull off real quick that messed
I know her
things
name.
up?
I'll call her up by name. I don't even know if she's alive anymore.
Let's not do names, but we can go down the list and say, all right, this is when my trajectory changed. I find that people's trajectory changed because of how you learned a particular content. Troubling. So we have very intelligent, passionate people that have chosen a particular mindset because of algebra. Come on.
No, I was telling him the story. In 6th grade, I had a really bad 6th grade teacher, and it was obviously the beginning of algebra. Like, you're just now starting to, and I didn't take to it quickly, and she told me I was bad at it. So I, in my mind, told myself I was bad at it. So I just never learned it. I was like, She's right. I'm never going to know this. So
I don't want that to happen to anybody else.
You're on a mission to not be that lady.
That's that's right. I don't want to be that lady for sure. I think the Learning Commons design spreads it out. 1-on-1,
Yes,
1-on-35.
Yes.
That's never going to work in a very equitable, connected way. It's just not going to work. A teacher can't differentiate for 35 students 7 times a day. She just can't.
When you think about in a group of 35 students, everybody's learning style is
completely different.
You got 37 different kinds of learning happening.
So there's a research approach to teaching where they say, well, you should build models of every single student and differentiate for those students. And I kind of, as I was going through my PhD, I kind of raised my hand and said, that's impossible. So stop telling people that.
Is it mathematically impossible, though?
I think it is. That's a complex system that you can't wrap your hands around. So, we got to think about education different, and we got to set it up to where these awesome people that are in school teaching our children don't get burned out after a couple of years, because we're basically drowning them. And then they leave. I think the turnover rate for math faculty in our city or just around the state is after 5 years, most of them are gone. So what are we doing? Yeah.
After 5, that's it?
Yep, 5 years, you've lost almost all of your new grads that are in teaching.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, we have vacancies in the city right now.
That
right?
is really bad. Yeah. That's really bad.
It is bad.
The Learning Commons model, can you explain that a little bit more? What it entails and why it's so impactful?
I think one of the best descriptions that seems to resonate with people is that it's a co-working space for students. So imagine whiteboard tables, whiteboard walls. It's an open space. You never have to tell us you're coming, and you can stay as long as you want. If it's in the high school, we have to structure it a little bit differently to where if the whole school's run on a Learning Commons model, then you never have a lecture.
Are there schools like that?
Yeah, so Purdue Polytechnic High School is really, their leaders over there, Scott Bess and Shatoya Jordan, they're experimenting with that sort of a model. And I came to that project as a partner, which was really exciting. And then you have Crispus Attucks, which is we have our normal courses during the day, and we'll send a whole class down, we'll send 10 down, we'll send the accelerated kids, the ones that are behind, it doesn't matter.
Why'd you point to me when you said the ones that are behind?
It was a Freudian slip. Sorry about that. So, yeah, you can send them all down. You can do whatever. The ones that are really accelerated.
The fancy ones.
They can work there. You would work there. I'd hire you. So, the Learning Commons is that. It's an open access learning center where you get your ideas out of your head, get them on the walls, get them on the tables, and just work with your peers in a safe space that should feel comfortable.
So correct me if I'm wrong, not only will you help these schools build these environments, so build this kind of thing, but you also offer like support and training, and you don't just like build it and then flee and leave them alone.
Yeah, no. So we don't show up and we drop off furniture.
We drop off whiteboards and see ya.
It's like good luck. Hope it goes well. No, we have 3 professional development paradigms that take months, where we work with the teachers, we work with the staff, we work with the students, we do training, we do ongoing training. It's really something that you have to change the culture, and that takes hard work.
That's more than a drop-off.
That's more than a drop-off.
Yeah.
And we've created a suite of technology that wraps around the entire thing. So we have programs that are adaptable learning. We have programs that connect the whole student in a virtual learning space so that when they're home, they can still connect to tutors. We've created the management software. And all of that was, for the most part, created by students that, like I said, blur the lines between work and school. I can give you a job. You want to come make something? And lots of the CS kids at IUPUI were pretty excited about that.
Very cool. How can people get in touch with you regarding, like, this obviously is a conversation that you need to have with someone. It's not just like a come and do it, bring it all. Yep. So how can they get in touch with you for a consultation? Because I'm sure that's the first step to all of this as well.
It is. And it's seeing some of these things in action, I think, is important for people. We've worked on how do we do this at scale where folks can take a virtual tour of a space like this. I'm always available at IUPUI to come and hang out with me and see what the administration and the faculty there have allowed me to create. And that's really the key. The key is shooting an email and saying an interest. And then what we do from there is there's a lot of people that are excited about this. But one of the pain points in education is how do we allocate resources for this, right? How do we get over the idea that there's no money around to help these kids? And I think there's lots of ways to do that. But just an email and get it started.
That's old-fashioned, and I like it. Like, just shoot them an email. Message for teachers out there who could use your services, people who need your help and might not even realize that they need your help.
Yeah, I think so. We have to be really careful inside of education. Now, when we talk about reform, sometimes what we're really saying is that we think there's something wrong with our teacher workforce. I know the opposite. I know we have a fantastic workforce, and I know they need help, and we're coming. We're going to come help and provide the support that they need to really thrive at what they're good at, which is working with kids. We want to take care of everything else for the school and for the programming, so that a new way of approaching that interaction where they get a secondary workforce that's going to support their work. So happy teachers, happy school. That's what we want to provide.
I love it. I love it. I want to make sure people know how to connect with you. So the website is crossroadseducation.org.
That's
and then
right.
if they wanted to connect with you on Twitter, if everyone's like super cool and just like want to tweet you, you are at Berkopes as well.
At Berkopes, yep.
Are there any other avenues people can reach you? What's your email since you offered that up?
It's my name, so kevin.berkopes at crossroadseducation.org. Yeah, please shoot me an email. And then I'm on LinkedIn. That's a good place to connect and network. Yeah, those are the easiest ones.
Cool. Well, Kevin, thank you for coming on and
It's been a pleasure.
sitting with me and chatting. And I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day.
Same to you.
And I
Enjoy.
hope you have fun tomorrow at the IBJ fancy party that you're going to.
We will be fancy tomorrow.
But thank you for what you're doing. It's really important, and I think the whole education world needs to be thankful for how you're trying to develop things here in Indianapolis.
Well, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to chat with you.
Of course. So we have no Paul Poteet today. I'm very sorry to tell you, but I can read weather just as well as Paul Poteet. So I'm going to do that for you now and tell you what to expect in the days to come. Some showers are around today. I'm sure you've noticed. Drizzle and fog, also some possible tonight through midnight. Shower chances Thursday evening with steady rain likely in the afternoon and evening. Rain could end with a little bit of snow mixed on early Friday. All in all, like that is not a bad, there's a 62 on that board right now. So everybody just ride the wave and dress appropriately and enjoy. Hang around. We will be back with Hotel Tango in just a second, and we'll be back on the edge.